Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Michal. Welcome to my home in London. Please come in.
Hi, I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we're now offering a membership plan that gives our supporters early and exclusive access to new videos.
Hi, Homeworthy.
I'm Roz.
You're here at my home in Los Angeles?
Come on in. I can't wait to show you around.
With this membership, we invite you to open more doors, discovering new homes, rooms, and personalities available only to those with the keys to our guest house. You'll be part of a community of people who are just as passionate as you are about interior design. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I'm Michal Silver. I live in Gunter Hole, Gunter Grove. It's on the edge of Chelsea, on the borders of Fulham. It's that part of Chelsea that's not so fussy, it's not so pristine, and it's a mix of beautiful buildings and a bit of a council flat on the side, and there's some nice cafes, and then there's still a few shops that are a bit run down, and I have that feeling of a real sense of a city. I'm sort of a North Londoner girl. We've lived in North London for about 25 years since we moved to London from Paris. And I loved the green, and we had a wonderful garden. But the commute down to Chelsea every day was just it was just too much. And there was a moment that I said, I'm going to give up the garden. I want more of a city life. And we looked for a space that wasn't as traditional as other spaces, and I just came by chance. I went on a website, a modern home, saw this place, and I walked in and just felt like this is the house that always waited for me. So it was so interesting because we hardly did any work to the house. We didn't move a brick. We painted the walls, we redid the bathrooms, and we sort of got ourselves sort of in the groove of the house. And it's interesting because it has a real historical significance. It was a chapel used by these nuns, and behind the back was where they used to live, and there was this refectory where they ate. The laundry sort of on the side, but we got the praying area, the chapel. And it was used for as a recording studio in the 60s and the 70s. One of the bands was the Rolling Stone that used to record here. And the rumor says that maybe David Bowie used to live here for a while in between spaces, apartments in London. So a bit of history here, quite eclectic, but we love it. So we haven't done any work, and we especially love, when you look up here, I love the windows with all the stained glass windows, and there's something very London about this place, because it's not defined, it's a bit quirky, and that's really what London is all about, is this mixture of structures, periods, temperaments. So for me, there's something very nostalgic about this place. Welcome to my home. Welcome to Gunter Hall. I love this little entrance hall. I love the tiles. We've created that. They're a mix of pattern, and we just laid those triangles together, and they work so well with all these lovely ceramics. I love the work at 8 Holland Street. It's the most beautiful gallery in London, and I love their ceramics on this sort of more mid-century teak sideboard. And then come with me into our living area. And it's what I love about it. It's one big space, but we've created these corners. So we have the reading corner. Usually I sit here with my husband, we read, we love reading. You can see our bookcase. And we had to get rid of so many books when we moved here. It was one of my husband's requests. And the dilemma now is whether I go back and reread them or I keep buying new books and reading new books. So I'm sort of in between. At this point, I'm still buying new books. But yeah, I have to read every day. Reading is part of what I do. The best way for me to relax is to get about 30 minutes or an hour every day to read. I'm not a big TV person, so I think reading is really part of what I do when I come home. The wing chair is a chair that's been following me from Israel for about 30, 40 years now. I bought it in the 80s and I love it. It could be a chaise longue. Once in a while, we'll just change the covers. And that's with a Romeo Gili rug that was created by Christopher Farr. It's an original woven keeling in Turkey. So I love the splash of color and the energy. You know, you walk into the house and you see everything, and then you discover these little corners. So this is our dining area. We love having friends over. We love entertaining. I love cooking. So that's a big part of what we do here. Dinners are a big thing in our home. And we have here a Sandra Blow, which I adore, this collage. We used Sandra Blow as we created a collection of wallpapers with the work, with the archives of Sandra Blow. So it's a very personal painting for me. Jean Prouvé table and chairs and Eames chairs, a nice mixture. Again, lots of pops of colors. You can tell that red is a color that I love, I connect with, has a great energy to it. I love Jean Prouvé because it's so functional, and I love the mixture of wood and metal. And it's really very much, he was an engineer. He didn't train as an architect, he didn't train as a designer, and then sort of with work and construction moved into being a fabulous architect and a designer. We love having friends over for dinner. Dinner is always very informal with us. So we have some plates from Mexico. I love those hand-painted plates. They're so, you could just feel the hand, the way they painted it, they burnt it. There are lots of faults, lots of mistakes, but I love that element. These are some glasses from Jerusalem. It's very, very traditional Jerusalem glass and the way the shapes. My mother's silverware, and these are the best ceramics, Spanish ceramics. You find them all over Spain to cook with. You put them in the oven, everything comes out so delicious, so wonderful. So very eclectic, very informal. That's the way we basically set the table when we have friends and the families over. I think I was drawn to art, as a young kid. I wasn't very good in school. I wasn't very, very academic. And I went to university. I studied art history, and parallel to that, I was very ambitious then. I was young and very energetic. And I did 3 years of art school. And it sort of meandered into fashion. And I worked in New York and Paris in fashion for about 15 years. And when we moved to London, I worked with Mulberry, and I was their head designer for the men's and women's collection. And I was working very closely with Roger Soule at the time. And he said to me, why don't you use some of our fabrics from our home collection in the men's and women's collection? And I did it, and I fell in love with textiles. And then I said, that's actually what I want to do. And I met Chris and Matthew. They had a very successful, very known artistic rug company. And I said to them, let's do something together. And that's how we started. That's how we started Christopher Farr Cloth in 2000. So it was a sort of, again, a natural transition from fashion into textiles, and color and pattern were really something that defines what we do. Craftsmanship is another element that's very, very close to us, very dear to us. So our rugs are hand woven, our prints are hand printed in a small printouts in the outskirts of London. And we work with different designers, artists to develop the collection. It's actually quite a small kitchen for someone that loves to cook. But again, it's functional. I have everything here. I love my oven, my fridge. It's just, I have everything sort of around me, some light coming through, and that just feels like the perfect place to cook. I can cook and I can talk with friends while I'm cooking, so that I love the fact that this open space is wonderful to having dinner parties and being part of the conversation while I'm sort of prepping and getting the last bits done. I grew up in Israel, and we grew up with, using local products, fruits and vegetables that are in season. Always it's olive oil and garlic and lemon juice. And we don't eat that much meat, so a lot more fish and cheese and really a good loaf of bread. Very simple, but good quality products. So, and I love baking, so there's always something, a sweet treat at the end of a dinner. It's shelves by Diteram, which were done for offices, so it's something very functional again, and I love that contrast. I like that very simple metal, and it's modular, so you can add to it. And then we put all our wine glasses and our tea cups, our tea, and when we want to have some espresso, some cappuccinos, or these Mexican hand ceramics. And then we have some decorative plates. This is a plate from Israel. I love it's Palestinian, drawn by some Palestinian ceramists. And then this is a plate that years ago I got from Tiffany's in New York. I just love the way everything works together. So when I cook in a very eclectic way, and there's the cutlery, the ceramics, the plates, it's all a mixture. But somehow with colors, this comes from Spain. I found it somewhere. So sort of all these little elements remind me of my travels. My kids always buy me ceramics or a bowl or something. This comes from South Africa. So I just love all that mixture. So it's all these memories that are sort of treasures that I have on these shelves. It feels very functional. It's not fussy. It has sort of an entrance hall, which is very small and welcoming. And then you walk into this big space, and it's almost like sort of a cathedral feel to it. And what we loved about the space is the flow of energy, and you just you meander from the living area into the dining space to the kitchen and up the stairs to our bedroom. And there's even a small terrace outside of our bedroom, so we can sort of have a view of the London sort of buildings, and just something very urban about this place. It's been a year and 6 months, so it's been 18 months in total, and we're still getting used to the house. And it was interesting because when we moved in, we brought all our old furniture, and gradually we're changing, and we are sort of organically going through and feeling the space, and then the space really is the dictator, or informs us, or gives us that sort of sense of what's right and what's wrong. I think what I love about this place is how minimalistic it is, how structural it is. And there are no embellishments, there are no decorative elements in this huge space. The only decorative element are these stained glass windows. And I just love the arched, long, big window with this flanked by these two more smaller, narrow windows. And then those stained glass elements in the windows, and these are telling the story of the nuns and the order that used this chapel and the monastery that was housed in this area. When we moved here, we moved with all our old furniture, and gradually we started changing and editing the furniture we had to fit this space. I think I always feel that less is more. So I sort of am always drawn to interiors, to spaces that have a lot of white space, a lot of area around them. So I wasn't concerned about filling this space. It was just adding or taking away elements or pieces of furniture or art that didn't feel comfortable in the space. So we're just learning and sort of feeling what the space, and the space sort of tells us what to do and how to do it. So it's a very, it's almost a conversation, and we're very patient about it. So we're not fussed about if it doesn't look perfect. It doesn't. There's some movement in this space, literally when you walk between the different areas, as well as the way we are decorating and putting everything together. So I'm sitting on an IKEA sofa. This is a sofa we bought in Paris when we moved in and we didn't have any furniture. It's one of their most known sofas, but it's in leather. So it's been with us in Paris. We moved to London, and I just love it. I love the simplicity. I love all the history that this sofa tells. There are parts, the leather is totally worn and wrinkled, and I just love all those imperfections. And then we have the Gunther Stolze rug by Christopher Farr. I love the Kilim rug on a wooden floor. And that sort of dry hand with this very organic, very round sofa, upholstered in a boucle fabric, again, a Christopher Farr fabric. And I love the fact that it's white and these very low sofa, the proportions against that height. I just feel it works very well. And obviously it's facing the fireplace. It's a great place for us during the winter. We love having a fire, and we'll just have a fire and sit and read or listen to music. The sound, because it was a recording studio, is fantastic here. So this is sort of a really big space, but because we break it down, it's really cozy. An Eames table that works great with a sofa. Color is a really important part of, I think, our lives, and there's something very informative about color. You know, you see the way people dress, or the way their homes are, and the colors they use, and you just get a sense of who they are. So definitely my favorite color, I always alternate between hot pink and reds. It depends on the season, the mood. But I think color, and it can even be with pillows. You can integrate and you can bring a certain feeling and through spots of color. You don't have to decorate your house with not everything has to be with color. But if you look at our living space, so we have a very neutral sofa, but then the centerpiece is this lovely rug by Gunther Stolze. The art on the walls is very, very colorful, and we kept the walls very white. I was playing with, I was just sort of thinking, oh, maybe I should have these walls painted in different colors, and it's a space that could lend itself to color, and maybe we would do something very moody with these dark olive greens and maybe dark navies, and then sort of went back to just using white, and then where there's a sort of patch of green leading to our very little baby patio. So that's a sort of a hint of color. It sort of peaks and leans into our space. We have the Fiore, this painting by Sandra Blow, that we have it as wallpaper. And in this sort of, that led us to this wonderful green patio. So it's the same green, and there's some plants in it. And again, the same triangle marble that we've created, sort of a mosaic, a pattern, sort of a very asymmetrical pattern. You know, it's going into winter, so some of the plants are sort of been moved into the garden from the patio. I love color. I love color, but in a sort of, in a very Bauhausian way, I think. Color for me comes in certain, it's very structured, it sits and defines a place. And I felt that this green really defines this very little space and gives it meaning. So I love that element of using color in a structural way. So that was, and then the green, obviously the outdoors, but also with the Sandra Blow Fiore, it just felt so wonderful together, so organic. It's interesting that art was always in the center of what I do. And I think that was in the connection with Christopher. Christopher went to art school, so we sort of shared that same background. So art will be a starting point. We work with archival collections by artists such as Raoul Dufy, Sandra Blow, Annie Albers, but also throughout the process, I always refer back to certain artists that I love their color sense, or I use them as references when we are working on colors, when we're working on scale and pattern. So I'm constantly going back to art history as a point of reference. So I would say that's probably my most focused point of reference. But then obviously, you know, traveling, talking with people, going into a restaurant, a piece of music, all that background is definitely part of how I sort of feel, or how I just get the sense of what I want to do, or how I want to develop, and how we want to continue with a certain collection or specific pattern. I love our guest bathroom. I just love the fact that it's all wood, there are no tiles, there's a marble shelf, and on top of it is the sink, and the sink is very sculpturous. Spaces that work small, but it works well. I'd love to take you to the bedroom now, so please follow me. So again, we have this wall, a red wall, so red again. And I love using color to define a shape, a space, a place. And the other side is a wallpaper that's a work of Annie Albers that we've launched about a year ago. And that's from her archives. It was designed as a carpet for a kid's bedroom. And then with that, we have one of my favorite fabrics we've designed. It's designed by Kate Blee. It's untitled, and it's very Mark Rothko in feel, those overlap of squares and rectangulars. So it's still one of my favorite ones. So our bedroom is, again, very simple. Some art on the wall. I love this painting by an Israeli artist that we have quite a nice collection of Israeli art in the house. A lamp by Scarpa, which he was an architect, designer, and he had a very Japanese, very influenced by Japanese design. So something very sensuous about his interiors, his buildings, and his product development. I love this room. I love the shape. I like the fact that it's not symmetrical, but mostly I love the fact that I have a bit of a terrace, and it has a very urban feel to it, and the views are very much what London is all about. It's really incredible because this garden, this little terrace is a year and a half old, but there's so much light and water, and the soil is great, and you get this lush green plants, and they're so happy here. And just against all this buildings, they're all different. And that's so much the story of London, those different buildings, a mixture of gardens and terraces. So the skyline is quite unique. We don't come out a lot, but the windows are always open, and there's always this flow of light coming in and the smell of the outside. And I look at the plants and I just feel that there's part of me that's still in a big garden. I'm very much of that less is more. And I never surround myself with lots of objects. I love people's I love people when they're collectors and they collect, and I love those homes. And I look at those homes in magazines and I say, wow, I'd love a home in a sort of a similar spirit. But then when it comes to my house, somehow I just can't live with too much around me. I think that my head is so cluttered. There's so much information and colors and patterns going through my head, and I'm surrounded with that all day long. And when I come home, I actually feel most comfortable in a much more monastic type of space. So I think that the furniture, the artifacts, the art tells our story. It's my journey through life. I think one of my first actually big purchase was the wing chair. It was designed by a Japanese designer, Kita, produced by Casina, and I bought it in the early 80s, just when it came out. And this chair moved with us from Israel to New York, to Paris, now to London. And it's so great because you can flip the covers, and every few years we'll just buy a few new covers, and you have these like ears, like Mickey Mouse ears, and they move, and you can even open it up and it becomes a chaise longue. So this is sort of one of the pieces that have always been part of my life. And then where I'm sitting, we used to have the beautiful V&A sofa by Ron Arad. And it's a designer that I love his work. I think he's one of his most prolific, most original voices. And it was great in our old house. When it moved here, it just felt somehow out of space and the proportions were incorrect. So we just got this new sofa. So it's really very, organic. And then of course, working with Christopher Farr, and they have the most beautiful rugs. So here we have a rug, a kilim by Günther Stolze. She was a teacher in the Bauhaus. She was a weaver, and we've been working with her archives for about 20 years. So this is very Bauhausian in feel, and there's pattern and color. And I just love the way it works in this chapel. It's about 100 years old. This is our bathroom, and it's lovely to have these both sinks. It's a big slab of marble, and the very simple square tiles. I have a collection of ceramics by Clarice Cliff, which I love her work, and I find it so modern and contemporary. So this is again a way for me to bring color and pattern into my life, but in a way that I can live with, and it still have this very, the feeling when I come into this bathroom is there's something very pure, very serene about this bathroom. So I love taking baths, and I just got used to taking baths every day now. So this is just such a nice treat. Obviously we have the shower from the ceiling. It's quite hidden. But this is where we start the day. And it's nice to have the light and this type of space. It's a metal grid, and it has a bit of a stylized floral pattern, and I just love it. And it's a great way to, especially when you want a little bit of privacy, to just get light through it, but still have a bit of privacy, definitely in a bathroom. So that's very functional, but quite decorative as well. And I love that mixture of the plain tiles that are very structural, very simple, and the metal and this very decorative element in it. These are rag rugs, and I bought them in Sweden about 20 years ago. And it's so interesting because we all talk about sustainability, but people were living in a much more sustainable way 50 years ago, 100 years ago, and reusing scraps of clothing and either using it as quilting or making rugs with it. So actually we are always looking back and looking forward and actually dealing with the same issues. So I love the fact that recycling and sustainability is such a big thing, and you still see it in different cultures, different countries, and different times as well. So there's a historical reference to recycling and sustainability as well. I had a very nomadic life. I've grown up in Israel, I've moved to New York, and then to Paris, and to London, and I also thought that London would only be 2 years. We've been here for over 25 years. So home is, for me, a space where I feel totally comfortable. I walk in and there's no noise. I'm just comfortable where I am. And it's a place that I love having my family, love having friends over.
Thanks for watching. For more Homeworthy content, be sure to like and subscribe.